Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome to Soul Shift Messages. If you found your way here, trust there's something in this message for you. Understand this space is about growth, truth, and transformation. We don't bypass here, we don't sugarcoat, and not every message will feel comfortable, but it will be honest. I speak in flow, and sometimes that includes cussing. It's just part of how the messages come through. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and trust your own discernment above all else. Take a deep breath, and let's begin. If you are new here, please know at this time I create weekly content in 3 parts. Part 1 focuses on what needs to be revealed. Part 2 focuses on what needs to be understood. And part 3 focuses on what needs to be done. What changes do we need to make to embody whatever we happen to be discussing for the week? This is going to be part 3 for this week's topic, which means you're going to find all available links for the series in the description box below. So if you come in at a later part, you can still find your way to the earlier portions. So this, again, is part 3. This is going to be our action-focused discussion. And this week's topic is rejection. I am calling this message Transforming Rejection into Self-Leadership. Let's dive right in. Rejection is often experienced as a painful ending, but it can also become a profound source of transformation. The deeper purpose of moving through rejection is not simply to recover from emotional pain or return to the person you were before. The deeper movement is toward becoming someone who can fully carry their own life. Rejection exposes where identity, security, and emotional stability may have depended too heavily on external circumstances. It reveals where approval, acceptance, relationships, opportunities, or other people's choices may have become sources of personal validation. The transformation begins when authority returns where it belongs, within yourself. The goal is not to become someone who never experiences disappointment, uncertainty, or emotional pain. The goal is to become someone who is no longer controlled by those experiences. Rejection loses power when it stops determining your identity, choices, emotional state, and your relationship with yourself. Healing must mature into self-leadership. Many people think healing is the final destination. Healing is important because it restores what has been disrupted. It allows emotions to move, wounds to be acknowledged, and experiences to be integrated. But healing is only one stage. The deeper destination is self-leadership. Self-leadership means becoming responsible for the direction of your own inner life. It means no longer allowing circumstances, uncertainty, rejection, fear, or other people's approval to govern who you are and how you live. A person practicing self-leadership becomes the one who guides their attention, emotional responses, boundaries, habits, priorities, decisions, values, and future. The shift is from waiting for life to confirm your worth to consciously living from a clear understanding of who you choose to become. Your identity stops being something you search for through external validation. It becomes something you express through your actions. Embodiment. What needs to be done? Take responsibility for the parts of life that are within your control. Identify where you are still allowing another person's choices or approval to determine your emotional state. Practice making decisions based on your values rather than your fears. Build an inner foundation before seeking external security. One of the deepest lessons of rejection is that stability cannot be built entirely from external outcomes. A relationship cannot permanently create your identity. An opportunity cannot permanently create your confidence. Another person's acceptance cannot permanently create your sense of worth. A stable life begins with an internal foundation. And babies, again, this is about cultivating that inner stability. And how do you cultivate that inner stability? You get into alignment, right? You bring all the pieces of yourself back together. You align that with your values. You build that within. You embody it, right? That way it is within you. It does not matter what happens out here in the external. You have that internal stability. That is a crucial, crucial next step for what is coming if you are on this path. I'm hearing either you are going to be the storm or you're going to get caught up in the storm. And they're saying that is not meant to incite any fear. We're not about that. They're just letting you know, like, that's where it is. You know, some of you are going to see people start going through their own storms. It's a realignment season when you're watching this. Like, you're going to be watching people have different experiences. I actually don't know who needs to hear this, but they want me to tell you this because I feel like someone is not aware of this. And I am going to go a little deeper than I normally do with this. So take it if it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. I'll use the terminology that's coming to mind because I don't have anything better, but you can be like, you're on different timelines, you're in different algorithms, you have a different version of the simulation. I mean, pick your term, right? But the reality is, not everyone is out here functioning on the same frequency, which means not everybody is having the same experience. So they want you to be aware of the fact that you could be the storm and you could just be in the eye of the storm and calm and peaceful and really doing your thing, minding your business while the storm is sweeping up people around you. That is very possible. You do not have to be synced up with everyone around you. And so somebody needs to know that, like, you absolutely can be having an entirely different experience than the people around you. And so if you're picking up on that, they're saying that's fine. I don't know why I'm hearing it put this way, but you're not crazy. You're not imagining that. For some of you, that is mirroring the work, the internal work that you have been doing. If you're noticing other people are kind of dealing with that craziness, but you're not. Some of you need to understand, like, if you have been doing the work, I'm hearing it, so I'm going to say it, but some of you have been doing the internal work and you are ahead of the transits. If that makes sense, that makes sense. So, like, some people could be going, because there's a lot of energy moving right now, there's a lot of transits happening astrologically. And so, and I've personally experienced this. I'm like, why is everyone else freaking the fuck out? And I'm just over here, like, doing my thing. And they were like, you already did the work. There weren't things you were hiding from, avoiding. Like, you already handled that shit. So this isn't impacting you the same way it's impacting others. And it's not to say it didn't have any impact on me. I felt the energetic shift, but it's just, some people were really getting energetically rolled in their experience and I wasn't. And I was like, what is going on? So, like, you can energetically be ahead of the transits. And some of you are. And if you are, good for you, babies. Why get caught up in the roller coaster if you've already done your shit? You don't need to learn it. You already did it. So that is for someone. All right. But yeah, you can absolutely be having different experiences from other people. And again, it's a choice, right? It's a choice to not avoid the things you know need to be addressed in your experience. All right? It's a choice to address what is coming up in your experience and facing it instead of turning an eye, instead of blaming, instead of shaming. Like that, I'm not going to lie. If you have been holding yourself accountable, you have been doing the reflecting, and you've really been having those honest conversations with yourself and taking action, they're saying there's nothing to worry about. You're already building the skills that you need. So if something shifts again, like, you already have the skill set. So if you already have the skill set, all you're being asked to do is, as it comes up in your experience, to just use it again. And if you haven't developed the skill set, you may find yourself in some situations where you are going to be given an opportunity to develop that skill set. That is part of what this message is going to be about, is actually giving you that framework to build out that skill set so that when these things come through, or if they have already come through, to help you process it and move through it. Again, I talked about in part 2 how this is really about alchemizing energy, transforming pain into knowledge, into wisdom that you carry forward with you, right? You process the emotions, you drop the emotional weight, you carry the wisdom forward, you make better decisions. That's really what this is about. This is about how to actually, it's a framework of how to actually approach that and do that. All right, let's get back into it. Build an inner foundation before seeking external security. I think, where did I actually leave off in here? Yeah, a stable life begins with an internal foundation. That's where I think I left off. This foundation is created through consistent choices, healthy habits, emotional honesty, personal integrity, and a commitment to becoming someone you respect. Not other people, you respect. Babies, this is about honoring your truth and who you really are. That is the only way to genuinely create this foundation and have that internal foundation be stable. The question changes from, will life choose me, to, am I building a life that I can stand firmly inside? True stability comes from knowing that your life remains meaningful and grounded, whether something arrives today, later, or not at all. The strongest confidence does not come from controlling outcomes. It comes from trusting your ability to meet reality. Build the skills. Build the inner stability. Become the storm. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's so stormy here today. I don't know, but they just keep bringing up a storm. Maybe it could be storming where you are right now when you're watching this. Or maybe it's been recently stormy. I'm hearing winds of change. Water cleanses. Mother Nature, Gaia may be doing some major clearing right now. I've been hearing about some crazy weather patterns. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think she is cleansing. I'm going to leave that there. What needs to be done? Create routines that strengthen your physical, emotional, and mental stability. Keep promises you make to yourself. I don't know why it's coming through, but if you said to yourself that you were going to invest more in your self-care and making yourself a priority, I don't know if that's improving your diet, working out more. I'm seeing a hella good looking bath. Like, we're talking candles and shit. I like that. But like anything like that, any type of self-care, like anything that really like pours back into you. If you said you were going to make that a priority, I'm here to honor that shit. Honor it. Even if it's not perfect, start somewhere with that, because I'm hearing some of you are very depleted, very deprived. Pour back into you. All right, take care of that body. Take care of that body. All right. I don't know why, but I'm hearing put lotion on. Like, moisturize your skin. Take care of that. It's your largest organ. All right. I got a download like months ago that they're reminding me of. Some of you, like, I went through a period where putting lotion on every night was important because it actually like created a cocoon of safety for my body because my body felt nourished. So if you're trying to calm down like your nervous system, or you're trying to get your body to calm down as well, it can be as simple as putting lotion on, like nourishing the body, letting it know that you are here, you're taking care of it, you are making it a priority. Like that can actually help release tension and bracing in your body. And I'm not talking about slap that shit on and, like take your time with it. Care for your body. The more I am on this journey, there is a level of sacredness when it comes to the body. The body has so much more intelligence than they even begin to tell us. The more I learn, the less I swear we actually know about the body. Take care of your body. I'm not saying don't indulge, but eat some damn veggies. Eat some fruit, all right? Get some good nutrition in there. Your body does so much more than you could imagine, especially if you are doing energetic work, and you know it. Support the body. All right? I don't know who needs that, but somebody does. Build a life that feels meaningful even when external circumstances are uncertain. Invest in becoming someone who can carry the future you desire. Some of you may be familiar with the law of attraction. Some of you may not be. I'm just hearing the statement in general, act as if, right? Could be the law of assumption too. I'll be honest, I don't pay a lot of attention to that. I just kind of focus on the skill set. I don't care about the names of shit. I just need to know how to move and shake. But I think it's actually the law of, it might be a combination of the two. You may want to Google the law of assumption and the law of attraction if that interests you. But I act as if. I act as if it's already here. I focus on cultivating the habits, the mindsets, the routines that the version of me that I'm trying to get to would already have. And it doesn't mean you have to do big changes, but if you want more recognition, you want more responsibility, I'm telling you right now, and this is significant for someone, you got to organize your shit. How you going to receive more if you are slapsticking your way through your day-to-day right now? Write some shit down, get organized, get real good at managing what you've got on your plate, and that will actually open you up to receiving more. Some of you want more, and I got to be honest, with Saturn in Aries, and as someone who has a Pisces rising and an Aries sun, Saturn has absolutely whipped my ass into shape. So if you want more, but you're not doing what it takes, I got news for you. Saturn is going to bring the heat and bring the pain until you get organized. Be consistent. Big Daddy Saturn is no one to fuck around with. And I'm not going to tell you all the shit I went through with that, but I'm telling you. And yes, I do talk to Saturn, and it has masculine energy. It likes when I call it Big Daddy Saturn. All right, calm down. We had Saturn and I came to an agreement. I did. I got my shit together and got out of that. Woo. So, again, if you're feeling the heat, look at your organization. That story's significant. I had no intention of sharing that. Saturn is speaking, that's for sure. Whew. Stop fighting reality and release what has already happened. A major source of suffering after rejection is continuing an internal battle with reality. The mind often tries to rewrite the past, replaying conversations, imagining different choices, searching endlessly for explanations, creating alternate outcomes, wondering what could have been done differently. Reflection can be valuable, but there comes a point where reflection becomes resistance. Reality has already provided information. Growth begins when you stop arguing with what has already happened and start working with what is actually present. Acceptance does not mean approval. It does not mean pretending something did not hurt. It means recognizing that transformation can only happen from reality, not from a fantasy version of events. They want you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say. And they already told me say it twice, so I'm going to do that. Energy spent fighting the past is energy unavailable for creating the future. Energy spent fighting the past is energy unavailable for creating the future. Where attention goes, energy flows. What are you feeding? Are you looking back at the past? Because babies, we've already established in previous videos that you cannot actually go back and change the past. You cannot do that. It's already happened. Leave it alone. All that matters is what you do from this moment moving forward. That's it. That's all you can do. That's all you can control. Focus your attention where it matters. Some of you need to treat your attention and your focus like you treat your money. And again, babies, this series is really focused on helping us release this shit from the past, because this is stuff that you cannot take forward with you. This is not aligned to your greatest and highest good. Put this shit down. Take what's useful, integrate it, move forward with it, and make different decisions. There's the decisions we make. I'm not gonna add any type of, I'm not gonna, I'm not going to put a binary type of thing on it, right? This isn't a do or miss out on it forever type of thing, because I don't really agree with that. I just don't think that's how the universe really works. But that's my opinion, and you can take that or leave that. But the decisions you make are going to hold weight, right? Because if you've learned your lessons and you do this work and you make different decisions, logistically speaking, babies, you just start expediting your shit, right? Because you tell the universe, like, yep, learn that. Thank you. Move on to the next thing. Yep, learn that. Okay, bring in the next thing, right? Because the goal is to get to better, more enjoyable experiences. And if you really take the time to do this work and you invest in yourself and you do what you need to be doing, you just move through that stuff faster. And theoretically, it could, I'm not going to say it will because I don't know that, but it could move smoother than it has in the past. Why? Because you're learning. You're just doing the shit. Things come in, you're like, you know what, this isn't aligned with me. I'm not interested in this. This is not for my greatest and highest good. I'm going to pass. I'm going to let that go. And it automatically opens up room for something else to come in. And then you can reassess it again. Discipline. I'm not going to lie, the more disciplined you are, the easier it's going to be to navigate this. And they're saying you can build and refine your discipline as you go. Opportunities to do so is just going to align itself. But again, your decisions will influence the pacing and how that flows. Okay, I'm going to leave that there. What needs to be done? Allow yourself to acknowledge what happened without trying to rewrite it. Notice when reflection turns into repetitive mental replay. I'm hearing it. Interrupt that shit. Ask, what can I do with the reality that exists now? Redirect energy from the past toward present choices. I am good. Focus your attention where it matters most, where it can have the most impact, ideally the most beneficial impact. This is really about leaving the past in the past. and carrying forward only what is useful. Allow emotional energy to complete its cycle. Healing is not achieved by immediately becoming positive. That's bypassing. Painful emotions need to be experienced and processed, even if it's uncomfortable, babies. Even if it's uncomfortable. Rejection can leave behind fear, disappointment, grief, anger, anxiety, emotional exhaustion, uncertainty, feelings of loss. Trying to avoid these emotions does not remove them. We don't bypass here, and I certainly don't recommend suppressing shit either. It comes up eventually, and when it does, it's uglier than if you just processed it when it happened. I don't know who needs to be aware of that, but yeah, my advice is when it comes up to be processed, let it flow, because otherwise you just push it back down and it will come back, and it's usually harder and heavier because you've been carrying it longer. I don't know who needs to hear this, and I don't know if it's going to fully make sense or not, but I have no other way that's really coming through. But the longer you hold your emotions in, the more they can become calcified, energetically calcified, which makes them a real bitch to get them out of the body. That's how you get frozen energy. That's how you get stuck energy. That's how energy gets stagnant, because it doesn't flow. It just gets stuck and held in the body. And eventually you got to bust through that shit and process it. Just something to consider as someone who has done it more than once. I don't recommend doing it the hard way. Again, trying to avoid these emotions does not remove them. It often keeps them active beneath the surface. Emotional freedom comes from allowing feelings to move through honestly, rather than allowing them to become permanent identities. Grief needs space. Disappointment needs acknowledgement. Anger needs understanding. Fear needs compassion and awareness. When emotional energy is processed instead of suppressed, it becomes available again for living. Energy previously spent on rumination, attachment, and emotional struggle can return to creativity, relationships, learning, contribution, and personal growth. When you reclaim it, you can consciously channel it toward things that that's actually alive, if I'm being really honest, energetically alive, and make life worth living. Because you're not channeling energy towards shit that's just energetically dead and just needs to be released. Fuel what really fills you, what makes you feel alive, what makes you feel rejuvenated, what makes you feel genuine joy. The rain is really kicking up again here, so we're going to keep it moving, babies. Hopefully it doesn't impact the audio too much. Let's keep it moving. What needs to be done? Give yourself permission to feel what is actually present. Stop judging emotions as signs of weakness. Identify where unresolved feelings are still consuming energy. You do not have unlimited energy. Reclaim what you can from shit that just needs to be released. Stop feeding it. Practice releasing what cannot be changed. Do not confuse certainty with truth. Rejection often creates unanswered questions. The mind naturally tries to fill those gaps, but uncertainty is not evidence. A lack of explanation does not automatically mean I am not enough. I will always be rejected. Something is wrong with me. I will never experience love or success. Pain often creates conclusions that reality has not confirmed. Wisdom requires patience. Not every question needs an immediate answer. Some questions need time. Some answers only appear after emotions settle and perspective expands. The discipline is learning not to create permanent beliefs from temporary confusion. What needs to be done? Separate facts from interpretation. Notice when fear is presenting itself as certainty. Allow unanswered questions to remain unanswered until clarity develops naturally. You do not need to force that. It will come when it is time for it to come. Some things cannot fully be known until you are in a position where you can actually receive it. Okay? Sometimes you need to grow and get yourself to a different frequency, a different level of consciousness before certain things genuinely make sense, can be understood, and you can actually receive that without collapsing under it. If that makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't, trust that will, if it's supposed to, when it's supposed to. Avoid making life decisions from emotional exhaustion. If you watch the earlier parts, this will make sense. If you didn't, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. But again, they're saying nothing good comes from desperation. Don't be making conclusions, making decisions. It's like if you are feeling strong emotions, in general, they're like, don't be making, again, life decisions when you are in that mindset. Come back down to a stable baseline and then move forward. Replace self-judgment with curiosity. One of the greatest transformations after rejection is changing the way you examine yourself. Self-judgment asks, what is wrong with me? Curiosity asks, what is this experience teaching me? Curiosity creates growth because it allows honest observation without shame. Instead of becoming your own critic, become your own researcher. Get curious. Observe what patterns keep repeating. What expectations shaped this experience? What beliefs influenced your choices? What strengths appeared during difficulty? What areas still need development? Curiosity allows you to understand yourself more accurately. It transforms rejection from a personal failure into information. And babies, they just want me to highlight again, you don't have to label things as good or bad. You can genuinely, again, process what you feel. This isn't about bypassing, this isn't about suppressing, but they just really want to encourage you to bring that to a space of neutrality, right? Because they're just saying that's where you're going to have the most success with being able to look at it objectively as information and stay curious. Again, if you're in the extremes of emotions, they're just saying it's going to cloud your perception. Your perspective will not be accurate, and you could easily miss things that might actually be really important that is trying to be brought to your attention. So again, it's just a level of discipline. We are building lifelong skills at this point. That's really what we're doing. I'm hearing resilience. We're building skills for resilience. All right. What needs to be done? Replace criticism with observation. Study your patterns without attacking yourself. You cannot know what you do not know. But once you do know, you can choose to do better and be better. So this is not about beating ourselves up of not acting the best in that moment. Sometimes you have to trust you did the best you could with what you had in that moment and let it go. It's all about what do we take from it? What do we move forward with to make better decisions if we end up in a similar situation again? Again, don't bypass, but don't be beating yourself up either. You should be your best friend. You should be in your corner. All right? And I don't know who needs to hear that, but when I was actually able to successfully make that perspective shift, game changer. Game changer. Made a lot of progress in a shorter period of time. It's better to be your own partner than to be your own bully. There's enough bullies in the world. It don't need to start with you. Ask what lessons can be extracted from difficult experiences. Focus on understanding rather than proving your worth. Bring the unconscious into awareness. If you've been with me for a minute, thank you. But you'll also know this is why I set up the series the way I do. Each part brings more from the unconscious into awareness. Part 1 stays higher level. Part 2 goes deeper into the unconscious. Part 3 gives you a framework of how to retrain all of that shit. Because once the unconscious moves into awareness, it cannot fully go back to being unconscious. I'm very intentional over here with what I do, how I do it, what topics I cover, and in what order. Let's get it. Many struggles continue, not because the original event is still happening, but because old emotional patterns continue operating. People often repeat familiar cycles, chasing unavailable people, ignoring warning signs, avoiding vulnerability, overcompensating, seeking approval, withdrawing to avoid pain, reacting from old fears. Transformation requires making unconscious patterns visible. You cannot address what is not known. That's why we spend so much time here bringing the unknown into the known, because you at least get a chance to recognize it and choose differently. The power of the pause. Awareness creates space between what happens and how you respond. That is the pause. That space is where freedom exists. When you recognize a pattern, you gain the ability to choose differently. Bitch, I would throw this notebook if I did not need it. I really would. What needs to be done? Notice your automatic emotional reactions. Identify repeated relationship and behavioral patterns, not just in others, also in yourself. I don't know who needs to hear this. Babies, this is one of the most red flags of all the red flags, and you'd be surprised how many people just like throw this shit out. Babies, if someone says like all their exes are crazy, or you're looking at your exes and you're like they're all crazy, what's the common denominator with all of your exes? You. If someone else is telling you that, what's the common denominator with all their exes? Them. I don't know who needs to hear that, but anytime I hear that, I am not going to lie. There is a part of me that looks for the fucking door. Like, where is it? Just in case I need it. Like, I'll ask more questions. I ain't going to necessarily bail that fast unless I get Ted Bundy vibes. Fuck it. I'm out of here if that's the case. But, like, you have to look at yourself. Right? Relationships of any kind, not even just romantic. You are always a common denominator in them. You have to look at yourself. Don't bypass that shit either. Be honest. Be honest. Because you know what? If you keep dating the same person, you got to look at you. Why do you keep dating the same person? Okay? Same thing with friends. If you have friends who seem to at some point betray you, why, like, you have to, I don't know why that came through, but like, why do you keep making friends with people who end up betraying you? Like, get curious. Really look at shit. It is reevaluation season, and it's for you and other people. Pay attention to triggers and protective habits. Some of you may realize you got some self-sabotage going on, and you know what? A lot of people do. It's a common thing. We don't talk about it enough, but someone needs to look into self-sabotage. Practice choosing responses that reflect your values rather than your history. If you are trying to change your history, is not necessarily going to be the best reflection. Stay true to your values. Just because you always used to do that doesn't mean you still have to do that. Is that, whatever that is, still aligned with your values. Some of you are going to realize that you are growing because you just choose differently when it comes to relationships. It could be friends, it could be romantic, it could be even the way you change your approach to relationships with your family. All right? I'm hearing nothing is off the table in this reevaluation season. Some of you are going to start telling, some of you are realizing you got some nasty ass habits when it comes to your family. Some of you are going to be like, these people are straight up toxic. And again, they're saying you don't need to judge them. It's really for you to understand. Again, they're like, it's just information, right? So now that you see this pattern, you can decide, how often am I going to interact with that? Are you going to take space to yourself? Are you going to go to every family event and having an idea of what is probably going to happen? Again, it's information you can use to make informed based decisions of how you want to move. Some of you may want to pull back from family. I get that. All right. And I understand that. And I'm hearing you're allowed to do that, even if your family doesn't like it, even if your family doesn't understand it. It's okay for you to prioritize yourself if you feel like you really need to do that at this time. That is significant for someone. Develop discernment instead of reacting emotionally. Pain often creates urgency. The desire to immediately fix, replace, prove, or regain what was lost can lead to impulsive decisions. Wisdom moves differently. It slows down. It observes before reacting. It gathers information before forming conclusions. It chooses evidence over assumptions. It asks, what is actually happening? What is my emotional state influencing me to believe? What response reflects my values? Discernment prevents rejection from turning into resentment, blame, or destructive choices. Again, babies, it's really about, this is really giving me the energy of, don't be so fast to move on from painful experiences. They're saying they understand why there is that urge or that desire to do it. Again, this goes back to discipline, right? Because if you do that, you don't take the time to process what happened, you're now carrying old shit into new things. And they're saying it does set you up for potentially repeating that experience. Again, they're like, if you just slow down, even just a little bit, to really let things process, feel those emotions, look at what actually happened, right? What is that experience trying to tell you? That you will actually be set up for better success. Again, it's not a guaranteed successful outcome, but it will set you up for better success for whatever comes in next. I don't know why, but like someone needs to think about someone who like jumped. I feel like someone has somebody that they know who would jump from like relationship to relationship. And like they just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And they're like, that person is showing you what the experience is like when you don't take that time to slow down and assess, right? They're just looping. They're doing the same thing over and over and over again with different people. Like it's the familiar spirit thing. It's the same type of energy in a different physical form. That's for someone. But yeah, they're just saying like don't be so quick to move on. Take some time and process. I'm hearing what is meant for you will not miss you if you decide to take this. Now, obviously, there is a point where you need to move from this to actually going back into taking action, right? Because at some point, reflection can become avoidance. There is a tipping point, but they're just saying if you want to take some time to reflect and really work through this, I'm hearing your guides and your ancestors will work with you to help you bring in a better experience, someone who is more in alignment with you. I'm hearing that work, that effort will be rewarded. All right, what needs to be done? Pause before making major emotional decisions. Separate feelings from facts. Seek understanding before assigning blame. Choose responses that support your long-term well-being. Stay focused on what actually serves your greatest and highest good, and also is in alignment with the person that you want to become. I don't know why, but I'm going to honor it, but I'm hearing act with integrity. I'm hearing don't let pain allow you to act in ways that you would not choose otherwise. That they're, again, self-mastery. Redirect energy toward healthy relationships and reciprocity. Rejection can trap attention around the person, situation, or opportunity that was lost. Healing requires returning energy to places where life is already flowing, what is already alive and worth sustaining. Healthy relationships are built through mutual respect, honesty, emotional responsibility, shared values, communication, appreciation, reciprocity, genuine care. The goal is not simply to be chosen. The goal is to recognize what is healthy to choose. Again, some of you really need to take a look at what you think your type is. Because I'm hearing your type is not your type. It is your pattern. And again, I'm not talking about physical appearances. This is energetic. Are people emotionally available? Are they capable of reciprocating the care and the love that you give others? Get very clear. Some of you really need to look at where your ego is driving your decisions. I'm hearing all that glitters is not gold, and some of you are actually realizing like, that's crazy, but I'm gonna put it this way. Some of you have been focused on chasing people who are, I'm hearing fine looking, easy on the eyes. And some of you, I'm gonna call it as I'm hearing it. Some of you are getting older and you're like, you know what? Like, this ain't working. Like, this just ain't working. Like, yeah, you're fine, but like underneath all this, what I'm looking at, like, what? Like, what? What is this? So, some of you want intelligent conversations again. Some of you, I forget what the actual definition of sapiosexual is because I actually think intelligence is actually tied to arousal. Don't quote me on that. I looked it up once a while ago. Um, but basically, like the way that it's energetically feeling to me, because I don't actually remember the definition, is like some of you realizing like you need mental stimulation from the people in your life. Like you absolutely do. Like some of you are just getting sick of the superficial. Some of you are sick of surface level stuff. Like you thought you could do it, but you're just at the point where you're like, this shit's not working for me. Like I can't do this. And again, they're just saying that's a sign of growth. It's not a bad thing. Like your values are changing. You're learning more about yourself and what matters. But they are saying you do have a responsibility, particularly if you are with someone who is making you feel this way, and helping you come to this conclusion. Release that person, right? Let them go. You have somewhere else you're supposed to be. They have somewhere else they're supposed to be. It is realignment season. So if you realize you got people in your life who are out of alignment, release them with love and allow everyone to shift to where they're actually supposed to be. All right? And you can honor your truth without unnecessary harm. All right? You ain't got to be telling people out here, like, you dumb as shit. This isn't working. All right? Like, I'm direct. I ain't that direct. All right? I would not be out here doing that. But I'm very good at finding creative ways of conveying how I feel too. So I'm working on me, all right? Relationships should not be measured only by intensity. They should be measured by sustainability, mutual investment, and emotional health. Babies, the people who are meant to be in your life should not constantly put your nervous system on high alert. I'm not going to lie. I'm at the point where if you don't calm my nervous system down, I'm getting the fuck out of here. Like, I'll give you a certain amount of time to see if that's a pattern or not, but if that carries on for a little bit and you just do shit that puts me on edge and I let you know and you keep doing it, I always know where the door is and I will punt your ass out. I can't help it. I've been through too much shit. You will get the whole fuck away from me and behind me. If you know, you know. I hope you got a chuckle out of that. What needs to be done? Invest more deeply in relationships that show mutual care. Stop organizing your identity around someone who cannot reciprocate. Evaluate relationships by health, not only emotional intensity. Choose connections where both people can grow. It's time to upgrade relationships, babies. Build stability through consistent action. Transformation does not happen through one powerful realization. It happens through repeated choices. Confidence develops when you repeatedly demonstrate to yourself that you can be trusted. Stability grows through maintaining boundaries, practicing honesty, caring for yourself, taking responsibility, following through, returning to your values. Small, consistent actions create a stronger foundation than temporary moments of motivation. The person you become is built through what you repeatedly practice. What needs to be done? Focus on daily behaviors rather than dramatic emotional breakthroughs. Keep commitments to yourself. Practice your values consistently. Choose progress over perfection. Increase your capacity instead of trying to control circumstances. Growth is not measured only by improved circumstances. It is measured by increased capacity. The ability to handle life expands when you develop the capacity to tolerate uncertainty, regulate emotions, maintain integrity under pressure, love without losing yourself, create healthy boundaries, recognize incompatibility without personalizing it, adapt without abandoning your values, recover without becoming bitter. A stronger inner foundation makes life less frightening because confidence begins to come from your ability to meet reality. You build resilience because you have inner stability. You no longer need everything to go perfectly in order to feel secure. What needs to be done? Strengthen emotional regulation. Practice resilience during discomfort. For some of you, a place to start is to learn to sit in discomfort and just feel it. Develop skills that increase confidence and independence. Focus on becoming capable rather than controlling outcomes. Move from validation to self-possession. The deepest transformation is a shift in where identity comes from. At first, identity may depend heavily on external confirmation. Am I chosen? Am I accepted? Am I valued? Over time, identity becomes rooted in qualities no one else can give or remove. Integrity, character, wisdom, responsibility, compassion, authenticity, discernment, deliberate choice, conscious choice. This is more than confidence. It is self-possession. Self-possession means being psychologically anchored within yourself. Acceptance becomes something you appreciate but do not depend upon. Criticism becomes information but does not define you. Rejection becomes painful but not identity forming. Success becomes meaningful but not the source of your worth. Failure becomes information rather than condemnation. What needs to be done? Build identity around values rather than approval. Let your choices express who you are becoming. Stop seeking permission to live authentically. Trust yourself to move forward even without external confirmation. The final transformation, becoming your own authority. The ultimate lesson is that rejection is not only about losing something. It is about discovering what cannot be taken away. The opposite of rejection is not acceptance. The opposite of rejection is self-possession. When you become internally grounded and self-governing, Acceptance becomes welcome but unnecessary. Rejection becomes painful but informative. Uncertainty becomes manageable. Relationships become healthier. Choices become clearer. Life becomes guided by values rather than fear. The transformation is complete when your life is no longer organized around avoiding rejection. Instead, your life becomes organized around living truthfully, wisely, and wholeheartedly. The experience that once threatened your identity becomes the experience that strengthens it. You move from instability to foundation, conflict to acceptance, emotional exhaustion to release, confusion to clarity, fear to curiosity, reaction to awareness, victimhood to responsibility, repetition to conscious choice, knowledge to practice, waiting to be chosen to choosing yourself. This is the deeper purpose of transformation, not becoming someone who never gets hurt, becoming someone who remains fully themselves, regardless of what happens. End it there. Okay. So, babies, that is part 3 of the rejection series, which is going to bring it to a close. I will be back on Sunday with the next series that we're going to be covering. So feel free to tune in if that resonates. Check the posts to see what that topic is going to be. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves, beautiful beings. Until next time, bye.